You wait while the rest lose hope. You endure while the rest give in. And then they ask you, why choose this path? Why not convert like countless others? But in your heart, you know that any dream worth living is more real than an eternity spent regretting your past. So you look upon them and see a face eager to hear an answer. And all you do is smile. Hello everyone, this is the Holy Hermit and welcome to another video of mine. Today I'll be talking about a new build for Monk in Diablo 3, a monk suitable for farming in patch 1.0.7. So here it is. We delve off into our build. We look at our primary attack, Fist of Thunder with Quickening. Tempest Rush with Tailwind, that makes its return, right? With Tailwind, of course, as in the movement speed of your character is increased by 25%. Breath of Heaven with Infused with Light, you gain more spirit. This is your main spirit generating skill after all. We move on to the next one, the main damage dealing skill to normal mobs, Sweeping Wind with Inner Storm. When you're on max stack, you gain 3 spirit per second. Wave of Light, not with Empowered Wave this time, but with Wall of Life, with a hopping 1202% weapon damage is holy to people around you. Another spirit generating skill, Mantra of Healing with Circular Breathing, you generate 3 spirit per second. Passives are, one with everything, well, to give you high resistance, Chant of Resonance, increase the duration of your mantra and you gain 2 spirit per second, another important aspect of this build. And to round it all up, we need more spirit to spend it all, Exalted Soul. Here's the build for you. Of course I'll be showing you the gameplay now, and more importantly, how this whole build works for you. Now the first thing you'll notice is we are playing on Monster Power 3. And I did promise you that this is, well, an XP building skill. You gain more XP from this build. So why farming on Monster Power 3? Why is it so after all? Well, the answer lies in the patch, the new patch. Every patch is good for something or the other. Some improves items, some does everything all. This patch so far is been great for monks. But that's just skimming the surface of this patch, but we're not here to talk about patch. I'll be making more videos about it. Well, covering all the aspects, that is, all the PvP builds that I promised you. I did have some good games in PvP today, some really fun ones that I'm sure you'll enjoy. But let's talk about this build and why we're farming on Monster Power 3. Well, of course, the first thing you'll notice from the patch data that I provided you earlier, if you've seen the video, is the XP gaining from Monster Power 3 right now is 80%. You gain 80% more XP now. Earlier, it was only 30%. So if we're farming on Monster Power 1 earlier, the extra XP awarded from us in the last patch was only 10%. Now it's moved up to 25%. It's 50% on Monster Power 2 and, well, 80% on Monster Power 3. But the important question you might ask me here is, well, the XP gain has increased, but the monster damage or the health has not been nerfed, as in it's not been reduced. So how can a similar monk with similar stats in the last patch, can farm in Monster Power 3 and still do good? Well, the answer quite simply lies with the buffs that monks has received in this game. And the damage to the buffs that monk has received in this patch is utilized straight away in this build. That's where it gets its strength from. So of course, as I said, the monster's health and damage is not decreased, but the damage we deal as monks has increased significantly. I don't mean like a 10 or 2%, 20% increase, I mean like double or triple the amount, as in 200 to 300%. So we look at our first farming skill in this, that would be the Tempest Rush. Well, we were using Tempest Rush earlier. I posted a similar video, my very first video on this channel actually, that showed you how to farm with it. This is the same skill right now, nothing has changed, apart from the damage of course. Earlier you were only doing 85% of damage whilst Tempest Rushing. Now that damage has increased to, well, 155%, so you deal significantly high amount of damage if you run on lower monster powers, or higher monster powers for that matter even. And the other skill we look at where monk has received a lot of buff is Wave of Light. Earlier you were only doing a measly 239% DPS every time you hit him. Now, that damage increase has gone up to 829%, and with Wall of Light rune, this damage goes up to 1202%. Now that is quite a significant amount. So before trying this build earlier on, well, on monster power 3, I tested it on all the monster powers, on 0, 1, 2 and of course 4 as well. Higher ones didn't really help, of course, because after 4 I saw a significant drop. But when I tried this on monster power 1, with the same build I have for farming, monsters were dying way too quickly, so my spirit was not being regenerated that fast, so the time that I spent Tempest rushing in the game was significantly reduced. Then, that simply quite meant that this build was not very effective on lower monster powers anymore. But I tried the same thing on higher monster powers, and voila, this thing works like a charm. So now we'll go back into the skill setup. The primary attack I'm using right now is Fists of Thunder with Quickening. Every time I hit someone with a crit, I generate 15 additional, spirit. And since my build, my gear setup that you've seen, relies quite highly on attack speed, I attack a lot faster, and every time I attack, is a chance to crit someone. So, that's our primary attack here. The secondary, of course, as I mentioned, was Tempest Rush with Tailwind. Well, not a lot can be said now, it's all can be seen in the game, as in the gameplay in front of you. So our healing skill has infused with light in it. Every time I'm hitting someone, I'm generating tons of spirit. This effect can last up to 5 seconds, so when I'm spending lots of spirit, I gain it back quite simply by using this rune. I have, Sweeping Wind. It has also gained some massive damage boost. Rather than having a 15% normal stack damage, it has increased to 20% for every rune. If you use Blade Storm, that number has even gone up to 26%. So, I'm dealing damage with all my skills, as you can see right now. Well, Mantra of Healing hasn't seen any increase, but in its own good is a very good skill after all, as in you're generating spirit and you've got a decent life regen on you. So as I was saying earlier, that all these skills have received a massive damage boost. So if you're a monk, then definitely the monster powers you can farm on that number has gone up quite significantly. If I was playing with the barbarian, unfortunately I would still prefer lower monster power, maybe higher if my DPS was decent enough, but if I'm a monk right now, which I am dealing way too much damage to play on lower monster powers. Well, all these skills have got a massive damage boost, so every time I'm hitting someone, they die in one hit. So, the way this build works now is every time I encounter an elite on a higher monster power, we have to bear in mind that they will deal tons of damage and they also have a high HP to account for, but that can quite simply be countered by using Wave of Light. I would run into a group using Tempest Rush Tailwind, I will hobble the enemies away, slow them down and deal lots of damage in the process. When that is settled down, I will cast a Wave of Light. This skill can actually take out an elite group on this monster power in quite a few hits actually. Well, about 2 or 3 would take down all the minions and you can then focus on the main guy, the main baddie that is. So, it's quite useful, because remember, in all of these farming builds, the whole idea is efficiency, and efficiency relates quite simply to speed. And the way a monk gains speed, this build gains speed, is by using, Tempest Rush. As in, I need to have high enough spirit to perform Tempest Rush at all times, but if I'm killing everyone in one hit, then really the build's not working after all. I will dispatch a big crowd very quickly, that's all well and good, but I have to cover a vast area from one point to the other, and that will have no monsters in between. So I'll be quite simply walking, whereas if I'm fighting on higher monster powers, and my spirit is regenerating fast enough because the monsters take a few more extra hits, that gives me my spirit back that is, then I can cover that distance quite fast. I can move from point A to point B very quickly because I have spirit in my old bag right now. So that's the whole idea of the build, as I said. The principal way the build works around is of course having spirit, and having spirit at all times. There's a bit of spirit regeneration from my gear, but as I always say, gear is not important. All of my spirit I'm gaining from, all of my skills, as in my Mantra of Healing, my Sweeping Wind. These are the stuff that are giving me, spirit regeneration all the time. I also have a passive that grants me more spirit regeneration, so that's how I gain spirit. I can Tempest Run almost all the time. And when I encounter an elite, all I do is I cast a Wave of Light on the character, and they quite simply die. And that is the exact reason why we have chosen Wave of Light over Empowered Wave, because Wave of Light will hit them way harder. Empowered Wave, of course, you can cast them twice, but if you can get the job done in one hit, why go for 2, right? So to round it all up, this is a new build that monks can use and can farm on higher monster powers quite easily. The build focuses on 3 main things. The first part is Spirit Regeneration. Well, you gain that from 3 sets of skills. You have Mantra of Healing, you have the healing skill of course with Infused with Light, and you have a passive Chant of Resonance. All these 3 skills, and you add a bit of, well, Inner Storm 3rd stack as well. They all help you to regenerate spirits a lot faster. The second bit is the movement speed, the speed at which you move from point A to point B when there are no monsters around. This feat is alone accomplished by Tempest Rush. And third of all, dealing damage to elites. That is done by using Wave of Light, and with your Fists of Thunder quickening, you hit one target, and you hit one target alone. When you have high enough spirit, you cast Wave of Light. That deals tons of damage and dispatches all the elites around you. So this is the build for you. Give it a go. It has been a good patch for all monks around us. Of course, I'll be posting more videos about all other things in the game. Crafting, dueling, you name it. I'll be bringing more of these videos along, but for the moment, give it a go. If you haven't hit Paragon level 100 like me yet, this is a great way to do so. This build will help you a lot, and with all the XP find bonus, it will be a lot easier now. It's a simple thing to remember really. If you were easily able to clear Monster Power 0 earlier with your DPS, I can assure you that you can now safely move on to Monster Power 1 or 2 without having the need to increase your DPS. And well, you can take it from there really. That's how this build will definitely work for you. The reason being, the damage increase to all the skills it has. This has been the Holy Hermit for you. I hope you enjoyed this video of mine. Thanks ever so much for watching, subscribing to my channel, and listening to me rant on forever. Have a nice day ahead. I'm out now. Thanks ever so much for listening. Bye.